Hey there, future Bobby here. We recorded this episode while I was a little bit ill, so there's one or two quality issues. We've seen what we can do to edit them out, so it should be listenable for you. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Sensei's Divided Talk. It's taken a little bit of a time.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. Once again, we're a slick machine. I'm still Bobby, and once again on the wheel of Dan's, I am joined by DanK.
Hello.
DanK, what's your favourite creature for one a blue and a white?
One a blue and a white?
Yeah.
Leo's Sky Knight? I don't really know many. Wait, I need to check that I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it is for one a blue and a white, and 3-1 flyer, and you name when it enters.
Totally my favourite, despite the fact that I could barely remember what it did or its mana cost.
Come on, man.
I just want to say Geist, because that's what you were leading me into.
No, I wanted Wall of Denial.
Oh, you're right. That would have been perfect. That's it, I'm sorry. You're going to have to get another damn. A disappointment. Let down.
As Dan's sacrificial altar today, we've got like a slightly larger topic than just spoilers and faff from last time. Is Magic an eSport? And if not, can it be?
That's a big topic.
It's one of those that always comes up. It
always comes up around the Pro Tour season, like while that's been on the TV, on the TV, you know what I mean, on Twitch. But it is an interesting question, and it's one that does get brought up a lot, especially when like things like Pro Tours happen and other certain tournaments such as Worlds.
Oh god, Worlds was a bit of a farce this year.
Worlds is weird because nobody ever seems to know what's going on unless you're really devoted to the game.
So this year, the World Championship was really poorly advertised by Wizard. It's supposed to be their marquee event of the year. This is supposed to be where you find your top guy. And
it's Worlds. Like,
it has this utter stacked roster. BBD, Reed Duke, Brad Nelson, Matt Nass, Seth Manfield, Shahar Shenha, who's like won it twice, Turtenwald was there.
If you know names in Magic, you tend to know these names.
There was the whole mess with the final of the team series as well this year that was taking place at the same time. Throughout this Pro Tour season, you've had 30-odd teams of 6 pooling all of their Pro Tour and GP placement points for their team.
Sort of root for your team, your favourites.
Because when you compare Magic to other esports, like
the big ones,
you never really root for individual players. You're always about, I want to know how Cloud9 are doing.
I want to know if the Shanghai Dragons finally won a game.
Like football, like a real sport, you tend to follow a team.
Like if you're at that beginning level, if you're just getting into the sport, you tend to go, I like Manchester United, or I like this team. You don't know every player on the team. You don't know their names, their skills. Like, well, obviously, once you get into the game and you start playing Football Manager far too much, you start to know more about these players and their names. They're like how good they are at certain things. But that's something that comes with proper devotion to the sport, not just casual watching.
I feel like you are firing some shots in my direction there.
Just a couple. But like you get what I mean with Magic as well. Like those names you just listed off, they mean something to players like you and I. But there are many people who would show up at our F&M and be like, who's over the term?
How many of the like casual F&M guys are really going to know who Ben Hull, Gregor Kowalski are?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know who those people are. Like, that's the thing. So you don't really get that kind of rooting for your favourite kind of thing going on because many people don't know the names of these players, which is possibly due to a lack of good coverage, you know?
Yeah, so all these other sports, we've said they focus on the teams. Like, you're not focusing on players. Like, in CSGO, you might really enjoy Smooya as a player. He's great with that sniper rifle. But you focus on the team. They're trying to push that angle. I feel like they actually need to be going the other way. They need to be focusing on their players because it's a physical, personal 1v1 game.
It is. That is true.
Like,
it's very different to these team sport games.
Yeah, because it is a 1v1 thing.
Who sit down at that table.
Yeah, so you should be focusing on those. Like, you remember when Enter the Battlefield did their like big special?
Oh, yeah, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it went like behind the scenes. Peach Garden Oath. There was like an interview with Chapin and like a bunch of other notable pros. So it really gave an insight to what it's like as a pro Magic player. Wizards need to be doing more stuff like that because a lot of these players do have like actual personalities. And
well, you only have to listen to some of like the podcasts and like media that they get involved in. I mean, like especially when you see some of these pros on the coverage teams for these pro tours. I mean, like you got to look at LSV, like
Yeah, like
people like that. They
L-
are people,
LSV,
they're funny.
LSV, the living meme lord of Magic.
Yeah, he's probably more notorious for being himself than he is for being a pro.
Oh, definitely. Saying
I've never really watched him play, but I've listened to limited resources. I've heard him. He's a funny guy.
You've heard him do his stuff.
His not quite dad jokes, but getting there at points. Like
he's everyone's Magic dad. For example, get on the MTG like World Championship for 2018 page on the mothership. Like, look at Andrea Mengucci's like posed head tilt of a photo. Like
he looks so happy.
Yeah, like look at how cheeky that head tilt is. That is a man who is there to fuck.
Okay, all right.
Well, like not quite, but you know what I mean. Like he's got this cheeky smile on him. He's got the head tilt. These are the kind of people that you can be promoting. Referring back to the Walking the Plains. Who knew before that in his spare time, Reed Duke is a jeweler?
Oh, what now?
He works at a local jewelry shop and just like repairs jewelry.
Oh,
because it's something he loves doing. Like further cementing himself as just like the nicest bloke in the world.
We're not saying that Wizards has to be invasive into these people's lives to make Magic and eSport.
No.
It's just, but like if you support your players, your competitors, they can promote you.
Yeah, they can
very well. Like they very much do already. With the content they bring out.
Yeah, and like they can do so much more to promote stories. Unfortunately, the biggest player story to come out of Worlds wasn't Dominguez.
A positive one.
Yeah, it wasn't Dominguez winning. It's been Jerry T and him refusing to play as a protest.
That is a fair point. And, it's something that a lot of the Magic community probably don't even know about. Okay, like, you compare it to Worlds, the League of Legends. Worlds happens once a year, and it is huge. And it's not even like it's just on Twitch. They genuinely have thousands of people going to watch it live. Yeah. Now, obviously, that would be a bit harder with Magic, and it would probably be better to get it on with Twitch. But, like, when I hear the word Worlds, that's my first thought. It's not Magic. It's not this. And that's such a bigger thing. Now, admittedly, League is a far more popular game. That doesn't mean you can't try and sort of shift it towards that direction.
The issue that Wizards are going to have, if they're trying to emulate like the feel of a League of Legends world, they need to improve like their player communication and their coverage.
Everyone sat and watched the Pro Tour, and then like you just sort of get like 5-10 minutes of just dead air in between rounds or something. Like obviously that can't be helped to some extent, but like you'll have points where they'll watch like one game in the feature match area, and then they'll shift to another game, and you're like, well, what's going on in the first one? Or like, we're joining this game halfway through. This is very confusing. Like, what's been happening? It's not always done to the best, and there's a lot of like, if you've ever been in the Twitch chat, you're like, what's in their hand? You've got people running around on the floor of iPads trying to make sure they know what's in the people's hands, and that's, I'll admit, they've got a way of doing it. They have gotten to a point where they can do these tournaments and generally do pretty well.
Like having a spotter behind each player, whilst it's efficient, it's almost a little archaic.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting to. It's like they may have found a way, but is it the right way? I mean, their coverage teams tend to be pretty good, but
yeah. So it's like the quality of coverage over the last few years has improved dramatically. Like especially with having dedicated play-by-play and dedicated color commentators.
So it definitely helps.
For your play-by-play, you can have like fantastic radio voice, like someone like Maria Bartholdi or Marshall, or as they're doing now, Riley Knight.
Presenters.
Yeah, these presenter voices, like, and then alongside them, you can put in someone actual knowledge. Yeah,
the person who's played that, like, been in that situation, can get into the mind of the player.
That's the thing. So,
like, what they're probably thinking about when they stop and pause, because it does happen at pro level. Like, obviously, slow play is a thing at high level, but at the same time, they're allowed to stop and think.
Yeah,
and they do that. Sometimes they'll just start. They might start prodding cards on like the board or something, but for the most part, you have no idea what's going on. They're just in the tank, we call it. Like
Wizards themselves actually have like contracted a reasonable amount of people who they can pop on coverage to be color commentators, give you the insight. Like, look at the play design team. Like, literally, it's Tom Ross, Michael Majors, Andrew Brown, Melissa De Tora, Paul Cheon, like Ian Duke.
Names that people know.
Like, look at the quality of the names here that are being underutilized.
I mean, the commentary is one of the better parts, right? Like,
Yeah.
no doubt about that. It's one of the best parts about watching, like, the Pro Tour, say. Because I can't sit and watch through, like, round and round of the Pro Tour. It gets boring. And, I could easily sit down and watch a game of League, probably, right now. I could log onto Twitch and do that, and, it would be easy to do. So how do you make Magic easier to just sit and watch? Weirdly, it's not much of a spectator sport.
You know that whole thing of, like, it's poker meets chess?
Yes.
It's got the watchability of chess.
And I mean, to some people, chess is very watchable, but other times it can feel very slow.
Yeah, but it's not mass market.
That's part of the problem as well. It's not just like how it's covered. It's a case of you can't just go, "Ooh, what's this game?" Click on it and understand what's going on.
No,
because
it is very deep.
There is some complex things going on at high level. It's like you're not looking at the base elements of like what is attacking. There'll be some complex things going on. Sometimes games are pretty simple, but other times they do get deep.
Like, for example, with the deepness of the game, let's say it's a modern Pro Tour or a GP, and they've got that little like advantage bar at the bottom that they've added in to try and make it clearer who's in the dominant position. So imagine if the matchup on camera, eggs versus blue-white control. As a spectator, look at it and you see this guy playing a control deck has got a bunch of lands
and nothing in play.
Whereas, like, the guy playing the deck named after a breakfast got loads of stuff in play, but the advantage bar is still for the other side of the table.
It's like, not something that's easy to just understand. I mean, back in like old legacy GP or Pro Tours, you won't see this on like Twitch now, but like one of the like very common plays you'd see is put the Deathrite Shaman on the table, put the fetch land in the graveyard, then go look through your library.
Yeah.
And to someone, like, the people who know, they're just shortcutting so that it's faster, so that the play moves on. But it's a lot to someone who doesn't know. Is like, what just happened? Did they just cast that spell for free? Like, why is that in the graveyard? What does that card do?
It's very inside baseball at that point when players are using like known shortcuts that aren't explained.
Exactly.
So,
and like maybe that's part of what they need to do. They need to say, right, look, you cannot shortcut anything. But that's pretty tedious.
That's horrible. Like, you slow the pace of your games down so much.
Exactly, which is not what you want to do. But somehow you've got to make it so this game is easier to watch.
Yeah.
It's not slow. It's not... It remains interesting. And it's easy to watch. Because, like, sometimes, like, the camera isn't quite right. There'll be glare. Like, I think there was one not too long ago. There was a Pro Tour where they had a lot of glare on the cards.
Yes, it was...
someone's sleeves.
Pro Tour 25th anniversary.
There are some great camera issues in the past. I mean, did you know the issue with Kess Dissident Mage?
With the bending.
I think it was just because of like the foiling or something.
Oh yeah, it was impossible to read.
Yeah, it was impossible to read on air. Like, you get issues with cameras, it happens, but Kess Dissident Mage was printed in the Commander product and was played minorly in Legacy. The problem was there were no legal copies at that level because you couldn't see them on camera and things like that. And it just got to the point where I think they were using proxies or something.
It was kind of test that they brought in the ruling where if your card is foil and marked and cut to into your deck, if there are no non-foil printings of that card, a judge can issue you proxies. And it's like, wow, now I've got cards with permanent marker on them, scrawled and at a premier event. Like,
exactly. Like,
and we saw this.
You turn on your Twitch.
We saw this at Pro Tour 25 with Nexus of Fate. It looked awful. Like, some guy like tapped like 7 or 8 or a million mana, whatever it is.
7, yeah.
And then just put a mountain with some Sharpie on it in the middle of the table.
It doesn't look very good. And like, admittedly, to the people there at the event, there's not much else they could have done, right? But it's not really what you come to watch. You don't come to watch someone slam a mountain with Sharpie into play. It's...
At my premier events, I want something slick and well produced. Like, I get that Magic is a game based entirely around humans and cardboard. Like, it's completely physical. So stuff will go wrong. But they've been doing this for how long now? They should have something better.
And I think the problem that comes into it is at these high level events is that there is a lot of rules. Like,
Yeah.
there is a whole lot of rules. Like, you look at content produced by like Loading Ready Run. I mean, the pre-release for one. These events tend to look like they have almost better coverage and more watchability than the pro level. But that's because they're at what they call REL Axed, where they don't care about the rules so much. They're more concerned about seeing what the cards do. And they have judges there to like help make sure things go right.
Yeah.
But nobody's getting punished and things like that.
No, it's
like, and the problem is at this high level, cheating is a thing, and so you have to make sure you're recording like, properly. You can't be interfering with the game, things like that. At the pre-release, they have the Twitch chat open, and they're like, "Oh, you'd missed this thing." Like, judge got 1,000 people watching every mistake. Like, but at the Pro Tour level, you can't really interfere so much.
No,
and it's like it doesn't feel quite as connected because obviously you can't hear the players from the Pro Tour. I mean, even if you could, they probably wouldn't be talking out loud like, I have this card in my hand. Yeah. Whereas sometimes at the pre-release, the other person will turn away and the other person will show this card to the camera and be like, look what I've got.
Just like flash a little thumbs up or something.
It does make you feel more in the game. It makes it easier to watch. It makes it easier to sit through. And it is exciting because they're new cards. I'll give them that. Like, the Pro Tour, it's normally cards we all know, they're powerful and things like that. But
going forward, it might not actually be like the showcase of the newest stuff all the time. It was Wizards, they announced they're going to stop pegging Pro Tours to set releases.
Okay.
So it's no longer going to... We're not going to have a Pro Tour Ravnica set 3, block 3, whatever it's called.
Pro Tour for the Gatewatch.
Yeah, it's not going to be that anymore. Like the GPs, it's going to be Pro Tour place name.
Like, the location, yeah.
Pro Tour My Kitchen Table.
I mean, I did like the way they linked it because it did advertise the set. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's very rare that it really sold the set much, but like the Pro Tour would be where it would be like limited for some rounds and then standard or whatever for the other rounds. It did make sense because they were playing that limited format.
The 2 Pro Tours I can think really sold a set. Both of the Gatewatch.
Yeah.
Because that was modern and it turns out Eldrazi was accidentally busted.
Yep.
And Khans of Tarkir.
Khans of Tarkir, yeah. But
Khans
of Tarkir didn't really need much help selling, to be honest.
Like the fact it was a cool 3-color set with fetch lands, a card named Mantis Rider, and a second card named Siege Rhino.
It wasn't just the fetch lands. But like, delving down a tangent there of Khans of Tarkir, the point is, it wasn't really coverage of the Pro Tour that sold that set. Like, that's what the Pro Tour is sort of supposed to be in a way. Like, it's not just a high-level tournament. It was supposed to be advertising for the latest legal set. It was supposed to say, you should buy these really cool cards that are seeing play.
Your premier events should show you why the game is rad.
Exactly.
It should show you how fun the game is, how diverse the game is, and how many different people and personalities play the game.
It is really great, like, especially we see with content creators. I mean, heck, content creators on YouTube, on like SoundCloud or whatever, they support the game more than the Wizards do sometimes, it feels like. I mean, like, people get into the game, I mean, obviously you get into the game initially from like seeing a poster for an FNM or playing Jewels of the Planeswalkers.
Or because a friend needed someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's why most people get into the game.
But the reason why people become enfranchised players, they stay with the game, is because they go on YouTube and they search best deck ever, and they find, random lists. I mean, like, heck, you see kids showing up with like Leveler, Laboratory Maniacs, FNMs, like
Turn 2 win.
Yeah, like kind of clickbaity titles. But then after you get past that stage, you get to like draft videos of LSV, or you end up watching the Loading Ready Run skits, which are really funny. And I like Friday nights has got to be like one of my favorite things. I think it's great that there is sort of like almost a comedy show for Magic players. Like, it's just
for this weirdo card game.
Yeah, exactly. And like many of the jokes on there that we'll quote at each other like from time to time because they are just funny. And my point is that these content creators keep players in the game. They get more players in the game. They keep the game exciting. They make you want to buy new cards. They make you go, oh, look, Saffron Olive is playing this weird Nexus of Fate deck. I should buy myself 4 Nexus of Fate because this deck looks super rad and is winning all the time. It's things like that, because Nexus of Fate, everyone was a bit annoyed about the Biobox blunder.
Yeah.
It didn't actually shoot up until like 2-3 weeks after the set came out because the deck didn't really exist until then.
Yeah, but
people weren't playing on YouTube.
As soon as the deck was known to be good, it just exploded. Because
we live in this internet age where, everybody's watching the content creators. Like, I go to this pre-release that's coming up on Sunday. I'm going to be watching listening to the Limited Resources podcast. Like content creation and like taking in one of the biggest parts of Magic. A lot of the names as opposed to these pro players, you'll know like Graham Stark rather than Ben Stark. You'll know Jimmy Wong, Josh Lee Kwai. You'll know like Melissa Totora because she's been in things online.
Yeah. Like you'll know the external guys rather than the mainstream pros.
The internal guys. Yeah, you don't know the pros. Like you might know a couple of their names, but that might be because they created YouTube videos of them playing the game. Why shouldn't it be because you watched the Pro Tour and saw them do that sick play?
I think they need to be doing more than just like one weirdo, like kind of awkward interview. This past week, Twitter should have been absolutely bombarded by the fact that Dominguez won Worlds and is the new world champion.
But it wasn't.
We should not be able to escape the fact that this lad is our world champion.
If it were not for the fact that you and I are recording this podcast, I wouldn't have known the Worlds happened. I mean, until about 10 minutes ago when you said it, I didn't know who'd won. I enjoyed this game, but I didn't know.
Oh, the issues with Worlds is choice of format. Like, we've got a new set 2 weeks.
Probably less than now.
Yeah, so a month before a new set, they thought it was appropriate.
The set prior to the set that had come out a month and a half ago. So the set that had come out, April? May?
And they paired it with a standard format that's about to rotate. Like, okay, I know there's going to be some blue-white control. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's going to be
some red.
There's going to be lots of Chain Whirler and maybe some nutter.
Some nutter who did some crazy thing. And that's the thing. These events, they aren't promoted and they aren't often organized well. Dominaria was a great format, don't get me wrong, but Dominaria is also not a new format. It's not something that's going to excite your players, bring them in. I mean, if they even knew about it in the first place, because promotion is not a very huge Wizards thing. I mean, the only reason the game has grown in recent years is, like I said, because of these content creators, because the meager offerings online have improved a little bit, but not quite enough. And Arena is a good direction to see them taking, right?
I think Arena is sadly the future of like Premier Magic,
but maybe that's not a bad thing if they do it right. So if I can go on Twitch and I can swap views of people's hands and things like that, suddenly you've not got those guys with their clipboards or whatever, their iPad.
The issues we've spoken about with coverage are like it's kind of stuffy, like it's very chess-like, not particularly interesting to watch because it's some dudes moving cardboard.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Quite quiet. Like those commentators have a hard job.
Cool. Arena doesn't have that because it's full of stuff moving around the screen.
There is lots of exciting things going on.
Like the issue with proxies that we've discussed. Cool. Arena doesn't have that. Arena just has cards.
Yeah, you will never have an issue with
that's readable
card quality. You might experience a bug, God forbid, at that level, but like you're never going to have a problem with card quality, card stock.
Like heck, I could send you a 480p like screenshot of Arena, and you'd probably still be able to read the cards.
Yeah, and even then, like what you got to get to is the point where maybe you're not doing it on Twitch. Maybe you're watching it on Wizards site. It streams you that game, and you can just move around. You can open that player's graveyard, have a look at it. You can look in this player's hand. You can zoom in on a card. It'll be hard to do, but if you can watch the game at that level, if you want to be, instead of having someone go, oh, right, and this card is, you can just bring it up on your screen.
It's like
you can move around,
Fans have actually been working on a Arena overlay for Twitch that detects cards that are on screen, and you can scroll over them and gives you the details.
But yeah, because that's something that you see it at the pre-release to a lesser extent at the Pro Tours.
But this is viewer side. This is a simple Twitch plugin.
This is just making quality of life. If you can get Arena to that level where you're able to be in the game almost. Like
you need some sort of interaction with it at this level.
The problem is you can't just get someone off the street and say, "Look, here, watch Magic," because they're not going to understand what's going on. Like, to a lesser extent, they can understand what's going on in a game of League. To an even greater extent, they will know what's going on in a game of Overwatch. There'll be bright flashing lights, but they get what's happening. Whereas in Magic, you might show a card very briefly, put it in your graveyard. You might move something off your battlefield into the graveyard. The case of it's not the easiest game in the world to play or understand.
No, in terms of like viewability, the kind of internal thing you're thinking of is what Valve for most of their games. So like Counter-Strike and Dota 2 all use what they call it like the panorama UI.
Right.
Basically, all their games have the same layout.
Mm-hmm.
And I will boot up Counter-Strike, and in the top left of my screen, taking up maybe about an eighth of my screen, I will see current like major or minor sponsored by Valve being played now with like clickable links to enlarge it and get in. So even if you're playing this Counter-Strike casually, because you like to
it's advertised
play against bots with friends, as soon as you're in, you know there's a premier event right there.
Like, League does it as well. Like the League lobby, it will tell you there are pros playing right now. You can literally just press a button and you'll be on Twitch.
Hey, if Paladins can...
Exactly.
Why can't we have this?
I just
admittedly...
Hearthstone being a game that is very much more like Magic than these other games we're talking about, and yet is so much bigger online because they've got their arena, because the whole game is that. Like, it's very much easier to watch.
And simply because it's bright and it's in your face, and it's a lot easier.
It's a lot easier to cover, and it's a lot easier to... They do advertise for it, Yeah, and I mean, Hearthstone has some cards that aren't that complicated. Like, Magic does have some very complex rules because of how old it is and how they try and make new things that are interesting, right? Like,
oh yeah,
I had a thought the other day when I was looking at Undergrowth, and I was like, I find it incredible that in the third Ravnica we got Undergrowth, yet in the first one we got Dredge.
Yep.
Like, you'd think the mechanics would get more complex because they're harder to think of as you go along, but no, they were like, you know what, we should just do this really simple thing because it makes sense.
Yeah.
But Magic has a lot of these complex abilities, like Dredge.
How does banding work, Dan?
Exactly. When you're playing Hearthstone, it's very unlikely you'll have to call a judge.
Yeah,
if I go to a modern FNM, I will probably call the judge at some point.
Yeah. Once again, we're going to refer back to eggs and
oh god, yeah,
me taking advantage of like the weird timing loop where I activate a bunch of mana abilities simultaneously, and then suddenly everything's in the graveyard and it all targets itself before my spell resolves.
Even in standard, though, you do get some more complex rulings, and there's not like a computer system that just makes sure everything goes right.
Even recently in standard, there's things like the interaction between the Scarab God and Vizier of Many Faces.
Yes, that was one recently. But there's a lot of like niche rulings like that make Magic a hard game. So you can understand that Wizards will have a hard time promoting this game. But like products like Arena will help like that. Advertising things like the Pro Tour beyond the inner circle. Because the problem is, at the moment, Wizards advertising goes out to the players who already care.
Yeah.
Like, they did a trailer for Guilds of Ravnica. The people who watch that trailer are probably players who are like, oh, I want to see what some of the new card arts are going to be.
Yeah.
They're not new players. You're not just going to go onto YouTube and because you Googled like Hearthstone one time or like card games or something, you're not going to get an advert pop up that is that advert. Like things like Facebook, YouTube, they track your history. They get cookies, things like that. And you'll have like adverts come up. Like I get League ones all the time because I watch League. You're never going to see Magic ones.
No.
Occasionally it'll be like, buy this Geist of Saint Trap because you Googled Geist of Saint Trap at one time. But like very rarely do you get that kind of stuff.
As soon as your cookies detect that you ever looked at like
anything,
fantasy novels or like other card games or heck yeah, even these other things like Legends, you should immediately just be like, here's the advert for the new set. Like there's thing coming soon, you might like it, and to play here.
You mention Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon to someone, they know instantly what you're on about. They might not know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! But they know of it. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Helps that they had the animated series and things like that.
I think despite being the first trading card game, whenever you say to someone, "Oh, I'm playing Magic," let's say,
like, what is that?
Yeah, even people walking past us in the pub as we're like jamming some Commander or Modern or something.
They'll be like, what is, like they might know the name.
Like, yeah, it's a card game. Oh, is it like Yu-Gi-Oh? There you go.
Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, which I'm going to call the other two in the big three, they're the ones that like they have the popularity because people know what they are, even if they don't play the card game. I mean, think about Pokemon as a whole, especially with like Pokemon Go the previous couple of years.
How do we push Magic?
How do we push Magic? Yeah.
How do we do the same thing? How do we, without a terrible animated show, how do we politely place Magic down everyone?
So you want adverts. You want Arena to ideally be free to play, which is awkward because
which it's gonna be ish,
yeah. Like the system they've got going is okay.
Like it's freemium.
Shove it.
Like it's freemium. It's still in beta. Yeah. It's got some kinks, but I feel like as a platform, have the potential to actually do something. Hope they do.
Want to shove Arena as hard as you can in the face of everyone on Steam and as many YouTube adverts as you can. You want to go, look at this cool game. Come learn how to play.
Heck yeah! Like
guy online, like in the game.
If you've downloaded Diablo, like Arena should be on Steam and advertised to you as part of your recommended.
Yeah, like it's making sure that people know. Because I got into the game by playing Jewels of the Planeswalkers 2013 because it was the Xbox Gold free game of the month. Me and a bunch of friends were like, "Ooh, what the hell is this?" It was not the most stellar game, but we had fun because we just played these big multiplayer games, and the decks were like pre-constructed. You couldn't really do much. You could just like add cards or take out cards from the selected list as you unlocked cards for the deck.
I once broke Jewels 2014, gaining too much life.
Yeah, I mean, like there was this black deck that had a shouldered, a Phyrexian Obliterator, and a Grave Tie-in that was really good. But then there was a blue deck that had like, it was basically like really early Commander, it felt like. Because everyone had like 70 or 80 card decks, because you couldn't change the land count, I'd like to add as well. And it was not a very well constructed game. And so like one of the decks had like 30 lands in it, so the only way it was actually playable is if you played an 80 card deck. But
what on earth?
The point was, though, is like we learned how to play. We all knew the rules. Yeah. And then when an event came up in school, because we had a Trips Day, and it was like, oh, Fort Park, all this, and none of us really wanted to bother with Trips Day. But then one of our maths teachers was like, oh, do you guys want to come play like Magic or Warhammer? Now that sounds really sad, but
it sounds really nerdy, and that teacher wouldn't be able to get away with that now.
But the point is like that gave us our paper cards. That got us started on going, ooh, I wonder if there's any events.
Yeah,
let's Google it.
Who else can we play this with?
Who else can we play this with? Let's just play with each other. I've got this sweet elf deck. Like, I mean, like he built us like these pre-con decks for this first event, and like one of them was Infect. I think this kid who was like 2 years younger than us, called Soul, I think his name was. He ended up with this mono black Infect deck. We were like, what the fuck is this? Like, and like this teacher, he had a Psychotog deck. Deck. And I was like, what did you just do?
Was he playing like Wonder and Upheaval?
He wasn't playing Upheaval, but he was just like, yeah, discard my hand and exile it, and then just like hit me for what, like 100.
I love me some Wonder Tog.
My point is, like, that was a very convoluted way of getting to the game. Like, it was many ifs and buts. If the game hadn't been free online, probably would never even have heard of it. If our maths teacher hadn't then gone, here's some free paper cards, probably wouldn't have started buying packs, wouldn't have gone and searched for an event. The way we got into Magic was so convoluted and like so difficult. It's no wonder that Magic isn't growing perhaps as much as it could.
Is it time to bring back something like the Guru program?
What was the Guru program?
Magic Guru program was something you could sign up for to be like a guru and to bring new players into the game. They did this in like 99, 2000.
Sure. But so when I was 2.
Yeah. What you would get as a guru, fold out rules explanation thing. You'd get
like the one kind that comes in the intro decks and the starter box.
You'd get like some kind of intro deck, like help them to play materials, get 2 12-card demo decks.
Oh boy.
These cards are from starter and include, in order, Island, Merfolk of the Pearl Trident, there's a bunch. So there's a white-blue deck, and there's a red-green deck. And so the white-blue deck has got like Merfolk of the Pearl Trident and Windrakes in it. Mm-hmm. And the red-green deck has got like Mons, Goblin Raiders, and Grizzly Bears. And you got a business reply postcard for ordering a new pack when you'd use yours. What you could do is, for each person you got into the game, earned you points, and then for every 10 points you collected, you could get one of the Guru lands.
Oh, right.
So this is where they come from. Yeah.
Okay. I never actually really knew the reason why they were called that.
Yeah. So for every 10 points, you get one randomly chosen Guru land and one booster of the latest expert level Magic set.
It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Like, it's incentives like that to get people into the game, because getting people into the game is not easy.
No.
Like, teaching someone how to play can take weeks, if not months, until they are fully confident to just sit there and play Modern, you know?
Yeah. You get all the new player hurdles of like not tapping land, tapping to block,
drawing before you untap.
All this.
Like that. Not really understanding how combat works. Confusing judge questions with double strike and other abilities.
How does double strike work with trample?
How does trample work with death touch?
Nicely.
Exactly. But the point is, like, those are the kind of questions that come up when you're playing, that kind of level Magic. You're like, what the actual hell is going on? Because those are simple rules interactions, because those are all evergreen abilities, but they do cause complications for new players.
They still touch weirdly.
Before we get to, like, complex mechanics, or, like, making sure you resolve a card in order, and things like that. But, like, for new players, keeping all track of all that, along with, like, +1/+1 counters on creatures, or, like, what creatures have what stats, what's going on, it's confusing. Yeah.
And this is where we refer back. Arena is the future, because it does all of the manual work for you. At this point, I really sound like I am shilling Arena hard.
That's the thing, though. Like, I think we are shilling it because we want it to succeed.
I really want it.
It's quite there yet.
No.
I want it to be that future, right? I want it to be that, that game that pops up and suddenly a lot of people are playing. Because, like, you see games like Fortnite and PUBG that have just popped up overnight. And
they've spent like a few months with a bit of a cult following, and then someone tells someone, and then suddenly you've got 1 million people playing it.
Exactly, and they all die out eventually. They always do. Like, Overwatch is, I think, declining a little bit, but Overwatch was another one of those games that just came out and hit hard. Now, Magic's never going to be that, right? Because it's not easy to just pick up and start going, ooh, what does Tracer do? But we want it to do well, so that more players come into the game, so that more people are interested in watching the Pro Tours, things like that. So Magic keep making products, so they keep giving us interesting things. I mean, like, the Commander products are a great example of this within the game. They were something they just tried out on a whim for a player format that players had come up with. They were like, we could maybe make some money out of this, maybe give them something cool.
Yeah, just we can bring this format to the masses and make a bit of cash on the side.
Yeah. Now, the Commander Precons are one of the most highly anticipated, like, products of the year. They tend to sell very well. They are always popular, they're always cool, they're always interesting.
That's the thing,
you rarely get a dud.
They used to be the perfect Christmas game. And then
they got moved to August for reasons unknown.
Was it like
they were making room for Unstable for the 2017 one, but this year they also did August, and it was a bit confusing.
It makes no sense. Like, unless we've got some fantastic unannounced product coming out for Christmas.
I don't think we will, though. But, like, that's something. Wizards also aren't very good at their product schedules. They'll either release things way too far in advance, like what's coming up, or they just won't at all. We knew the name of Hour of Devastation before Kaladesh came out, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, we did, because they announced like six sets at once.
Yeah, they announced a lot of set names, and it was like, we knew that something was going to go wrong on Amonkhet before we even knew that Amonkhet was the Egyptian-y themed plane.
They just showed some art and went like, yeah, there's some bolusy stuff, and everybody went, this plane's fucked.
Yeah, I think that the first images of the set was the three pyramids and the guy walking up the steps towards Hazret, I think. Or the Hazret temple or something like that was sort of like the first look we got at it to confirm that it was the Egyptians.
It was something imposing and big, and it was there like, yeah, we're doing Egypt world.
We're at the opposite situation now. We don't really know much of what's going on. We know what's happening with the main sets. We know that we're going to Ravnica for another 2 sets. But other than that, I don't... Do you know anything else about any products next year? I can assume there'll be things like a Commander product. There'll probably be a Masters set.
After Ravnica 3, we're going to have a core set, and then who knows?
They're not always the best at keeping up with their media.
No, their communication is poor, both with pro players for events and with just the casual consumer.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good to just bang on about Wizards doing things wrong all the time. But ultimately, if they don't succeed at bringing the game forwards, bringing more people in, eventually the game will just die out, or we'll get less products a year. Admittedly, that might not be a bad thing at the moment with the way they're pumping them out. But you want to be able to complain that there's too much going on rather than too little. You want to be able to complain that, oh no, Eternal Masters, Eldritch Moon, Kaladesh, and this Commander product came out all at the same time.
You don't want to be...
Yeah. You don't want to be complaining about the fact that, there was a 6-month dry spell because nothing really happened.
If Wizards were to just carry on down the awkward, slippery slope of miscommunication and poor organised play and being a bit stuck in the past, how many more Brian Kibblers do you think we'll get? Where high-level, very respected pros just leave. Just leave.
Especially things like...
Just leave for other games.
Yeah. If they get to a point where it's just better to play them. It's more enjoyable. It's more rewarding.
Right,
why wouldn't you?
We've had it with players we know. So,
I've definitely seen people in our community who are like, you know what? Nah, I don't want to play Magic anymore. Even your enfranchised players, you will lose. And sometimes that's just a case of not really feeling it right now. You hear lots of stories about people who used to play when they were younger, back in early 2000s, late 90s, and then they got back into the game in the last couple of years. That happens, but at the same time, you don't want to lose players. It's never a good thing.
Looking at prizes and stuff for Hearthstone, compare it back to Magic. The total prize pool, the Hearthstone 2017 World Championships.
I do not know.
$1 million.
What?
$1 million.
Okay.
Let's have a look at what Wizards did for Magic.
I don't know if you can hear me typing, but this is me just buy listing everything I own. Not that I could get to that level, but you know what I mean.
I'll see you in Hearthstone, mate.
Yeah. I don't even like the game, but more rewarding.
So, the world champion, a world champion this year, got $100,000 in Magic.
How much do you reckon it costs?
As opposed to $250,000 in Hearthstone.
But how much do you reckon it cost for him to attend the GPs to qualify for this? All the events he had to go to, all the traveling he had to do across the states to go to all these events, to go to Pro Tours.
Not quite that monetarily, but the opportunity cost is huge. What point do you get to go away with your partner?
Yeah, and that's why having pro play on Arena could be revolutionary to those kind of players.
Huge, mate.
Yeah. Oh, you got quite loud there.
As soon as you can qualify for the Pro Tour on Arena, I will start playing Standard again. I'll start doing PPTQ style things. Because I enjoy playing competitive Magic, but because of my work schedule, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get maybe 1 day off a week, or maybe 6 hours a week, where I can see my girlfriend, I cannot play competitive Magic.
That's right. Especially jobs that work the weekends. You're not traveling to play these events. For the average person, being a PPTQ grinder is just not a thing.
Not in the slightest. It's, as I said, the opportunity cost of it is huge. I could, even one nearby, I can travel for an hour, go to a PPTQ, and maybe not win, or play Hearthstone. I can boot up ranked Hearthstone and grind that out in my pants with a bottle of vodka.
Jesus.
Everyone's got their own style. Mine is just drunk.
Okay.
But
I mean, I'd recommend not getting drunk for high-level,
high-level anything
Magic,
ever.
Yeah.
It's the point. It's the comfort. Like, I could sit at my desk with a cake and play high-quality Hearthstone. It's... Unless I'm willing to sell all of my cards and take all the cash I get from it, put it into MitGo, and take a day off work, like 2 days off work, to play in the mocks. I currently can't do that with Magic, like especially with MitGo being the old clunky pile that it is.
Mm-hmm. I think what everything we've said is coming back down to at the end of the day is its ease.
Yeah.
How easy is it to get into the game? How easy is it to go to the events? How easy is it to understand how to play? How easy is it to learn how to play? How easy is it for you to stay in the game, get in the game?
And that's where it needs to be.
Is easy.
Yeah. It's, whilst being a complex game, it is an easy game, and it can be easy to demonstrate.
Yeah, you just need to get the people in. You need to get the coverage up to that level.
That people are still interested.
Because, at the end of the day, while we all enjoy this game, it is still a competition. Like, we joke about going for Hearthstone, but sometimes I just don't feel like going up to play Magic, I'd rather play League. I'd rather play Dungeons and Dragons. I love this game. But at the same time, there are days where I really hate it.
Yeah, they make it hard to love.
Yeah, it's a well-known popular joke that a Magic player's favourite thing to do is complain. And I complain a lot about a lot of things.
I think I complain about Magic maybe 7 times a day.
Yeah, like it's mainly like what you're going to talk about. Like that's probably what this podcast is going to end up being. Us moaning, not to set you up for bad episodes to come, because we will get excited about things. But like when they do stuff like Nexus of Fate, when they do stuff like the Masterpiece Edition for Ravnica, when they give us those products, when they make those poor decisions, it's hard to stay faithful to the game. You'd go, why am I playing this? And you see that with the pros. Like we are seeing with the pros. The guy who's sat out, he's clearly done that in protest because he doesn't agree with this company. He doesn't agree with what they're doing. But he enjoys the game because he was still there.
Yeah, it's like the TLDR. He
doesn't want to leave.
The TLDR of like Jerry's protest points is similar stuff that we've mentioned. It's poor price pots. So Wizards doesn't pay its professionals a living wage. Like it's not a requirement, but
even if you have to be at the absolute highest level for it to be feasible.
It says here the message currently being sent is don't waste your time.
So then I remember listening to an episode of Limited Resources, and the viewer question at the start was, I want to. It was some person who was like, I want to quit my job and play Magic as a pro because that's their dream. And their response was, don't.
Just don't.
Unless you get to like platinum level pro, which no offense is quite hard and unlikely.
Yeah, like especially if you're based in Europe or South America,
you're not going to make it. Yeah, like that's just unfortunately a fact of the matter. But if you were good at League, if you played ranked every season, if you ground out the games in your spare time, if you made it up through Diamond into Masters into Challenger, if you played in Challenger and you played to a good degree, someone might see you. Someone might go, do you want to join this team?
Too right I do. Like, too right I want to join a team and show off my skills and my talent.
If you're that
someone's
good,
noticed.
And even if you're not quite that good, you can still stream. If you are a Diamond level, Masters, like Diamond to Masters level player, you can probably make good content if you're funny, that's what a lot of Magic players come down to as well. They make the content because what else can they do? Yeah, like your players make the game, and another one of Jerry points is Wizards does not promote its players well, which is something we've said. Mm-hmm. The thing is, we have these issues with them, but at the end of the day, they're not the enemy. They shouldn't be the enemy. We just want them to.
They should be the boyfriend that needs to change his shirt.
Yes, exactly. There should be ever so slight minor issues. There shouldn't be worrying about, collectors only items and buy a box promos and whether this company cares about money more than it does us.
We all just all.
I mean, because at the end of
all
the day,
everyone
they
wants,
do.
all everyone wants is something fun and interesting to play.
Yeah.
That's it.
I want to be able to go up to that new player and go, "Isn't this cool?"
Yeah, rather than this is Magic. It's my nerdy card game hobby.
And that's kind of where we get to at the moment, and maybe that will improve Arena. Like, Arena is a definite sign they are trying. The announcement about making their digital offerings better is proof they are trying. It's just
they need to actually do it.
Yeah. So if you ask, is Magic an esport, I'd say not yet. It's not.
Yeah, to conclude, not yet. But there's so much potential. Like
there is.
There's never-ending potential there.
Like Hearthstone proves it.
Be visible and be honest with what you're doing, like, and what changes you're going to make, how it'll affect everyone.
And just think think the decisions through,
please.
Because whilst there is always going to be complaints, there will inevitably be complaints. There are some decisions that you wonder how they even made it through a team, like Nexus of Fate as a Biobox promo.
Yeah.
That went through a team of people who were like, we should do a Biobox promo. Well, now you got a question. Is it because they wanted to sell cards? Probably. As opposed to because they care about accessibility to their game. And, you've got to have that good mix, because otherwise you will lose the players, and then suddenly there's no one to buy your £400 box of whatever the hell you're going to make next. No one's going to be buying your From the Vaults because no one cares about the game. The digital world is the way it's going, like, as much as we all love playing Paper Magic, digital is what's next. If you want to watch things, if you want to consume content about this game, if you want to play this game from home, it's like there's always going to be that place for F&Ms. There's always going to be that Friday night, we can go to this pre-release,
But for Magic as a sport and for Magic as a form of entertainment, it's time to move into the 21st century and slicken up.
Exactly. I think that's probably where we should end that. Yeah,
it's certainly where we should end. Thank you for today, Dan.
Yeah, thank you too. It's been good fun.
You are fantastic as always.
Hopefully it hasn't been too negative, people. We'll try bring it something cheery next time. Less complaining about wizards.
Next time we're gonna find a positive topic. We're gonna do something interesting. I have another poem for you to end on, Dan.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Oh, God.
What is it?
Chandra is red, so is Ed Sheeran. I have vigilance flying on my heart of Kieran.
I hate you. And goodbye, people.